So Donald Trump didn't get the Nobel Peace Prize, and he and MAGA are the only ones who are shocked about this. But he actually said that the person that did win the Nobel Peace Prize reached out to him to say that she was accepting it in honor of him. Folks, you cannot make this up. This dude is truly delusional. Take a look.
The person who actually got the Nobel Prize called me and said, I'm accepting this in honor of you because you really deserved it. That a very nice thing to do. I didn't say then give it to me though. I think she might have. She was very nice, and I've been helping her along the way. They need a lot of help in Venezuela. It's a basic disaster. So, and you could also say it was given out for 24, and I was running for office in 24. You know, all of the transactions that we did in terms of closing, but. There are those that say we did so much that they should have done it, but I don't take. I'm happy because I saved millions of lives. Many.
Now, I don't know about you all, but whenever I think about the Nobel Peace Prize, I think of humanitarians. I think about people who have done good, who have worked to bring peace to the world, and who have worked to bring people together, not a convicted felon who was found liable of sexual abuse and defamed the victim, not someone who incited an insurrection on our nation's capital, not someone who has been the most divisive president in American history, someone who is sending the troops to American cities. How can you say that you deserve a Nobel Peace Prize when you can't even keep the peace in your own country? You have to resort to calling in the guard. And we all know it's a political stunt. We all know it's so that he can flex, but you don't get to sit there and flex and pretend to be the big, tough, authoritarian dictator and at the same time turn around and say, oh, I deserve peace. It doesn't work that way. You know, the Nobel Peace Prize is reserved for people who actually do work at bringing peace and actually do good things, not someone like Donald Trump who makes it all about him. And this is nothing more than him wanting to stroke his own ego. That's all this is. It's all it comes down to. The reason why that he is so obsessed with this is because Barack Obama got one and he didn't. And he's butthurt about it, and he's never going to shut up. As long as Donald Trump is around, he's going to be talking about how he should get a Nobel Peace Prize. But the rest of us who live in reality and feel the threat that comes from him every single day, we're just going to call it for the delusional bullshit that it is. You know, you can't sit and address your opponents as radical left lunatics and the enemy from within who should be rooted out like vermin. None of those quotes goes along with Nobel Peace Prize. That'd be like Charles Manson saying, hey, I want to be the guy that, gets a family values award. It doesn't work that way. You hacked people to pieces. You know, you don't get to now stand up and say you're about family and you're about values. It's absolute lunacy to me. But the sad part is, in MAGA's world, they see this stuff and believe it, and they feel that him flexing and, trying to be the big dictator, they think that's a power grab, and they think that that's peace. And to me, that's delusional. So, I don't know. As we go forward, I'm going to always wonder how in the world that MAGA could look at a guy like that and think that he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize, or how that he could even think it. But it all comes down, and it will always circle back to his ego and his jealousy of Barack Obama. And, sometimes, not to get sidetracked here, but sometimes I often wonder what would have happened if Obama just hadn't roasted him that time. I almost feel like when Obama roasted him, that's what really just set him off to go forward and run for president, because right there, sitting there in that moment being roasted by Obama, he didn't crack a smile. He sat there, you could see he was just absolutely fuming. And sometimes I go back to that moment and almost go, you know what, maybe if Obama had just laid off that, it would have saved us all this stress. Because it just seemed like from that point on, he was hell-bent on being in charge and being up front. But this delusion he has with wanting a Nobel Peace Prize is off the charts even for him. And to anyone out there that thinks he deserves it or that he should even be in the conversation for it. I mean, I wouldn't even think of him in the conversation for it. And I don't even know how I would think that if I was MAGA. I've tried to put myself in their shoes and go, how could you put those two things together when you're declaring war on your own? When you're throwing away the Constitution and you don't believe in due process, you're sending people out of the country without due process. You've got ICE on the streets, throwing people to the ground, and you're threatening to lock up political opponents. I mean, I can sit here and go on and on and on and on with every example in the world as to why this guy is the last dude that should ever be considered for a Nobel Peace Prize, because nothing about him is peaceful. Nothing about him is about bringing people together. It's all about division. It's all about pushing people as far out of his movement as he can. You never hear him refer to anyone on the left or anyone with an opposing viewpoint. You never hear him refer to them as anything other than the radical left or the enemy from within, or they should be rooted out like vermin. You don't hear him say, oh, well, here's a moderate Democrat who I really like and get along with. You never hear him say that. Everyone is the enemy to this guy, and everyone is the enemy to his movement. They work overtime to push anyone out of their movement, and they say so up front. It's not an all-inclusive place, and they're pretty clear about that. So again, you can't push people out and expect to have a peace prize. You can't talk to people the way that Donald Trump talks to people and present yourself the way Donald Trump presents himself and then turn around and say, I should get a peace prize. It just doesn't work that way. And so, you know, he's going to be obsessed with this for as long as he's around. He will be. And I think it's funny that he doesn't get it. And I think it's funny that he stands up there and actually says, oh, well, they called me to say that they were, you know, taking it in honor of me. They were receiving it in honor of me and that I really did deserve it. No, dude, in no world would you ever deserve a peace prize, and your name doesn't belong anywhere near the word peace. If they were in a book together, those two words wouldn't even be on the same, they couldn't even be in the same chapter unless you were talking about who was going to bring peace after he was gone. That's the only way that the word peace should even be anywhere around Donald Trump's name would be Donald Trump. How do we restore peace once he's gone? That's the only way that those two words should ever even be in the same chapter of a book. He's delusional to think it, and so is MAGA. But folks, I want to thank y'all so much for supporting what I do here on the channel. We're cruising toward 1 million subscribers. I'm doing some traveling, getting away for a little while, and I'll be making my videos on the road. But I really appreciate y'all for helping us to build this platform as we cruise toward 1 million. I believe we'll get there soon. And it means a whole lot to me that y'all support the work that I do. I don't understand Donald Trump. I'm never going to understand him, but we're always going to be sitting here calling it out. And when it comes to calling out his delusions, and when it comes to calling out his hypocrisy, it's a full-time job, folks.